we're going to talk about factoring using the greatest common factor. The greatest common factor is always the first thing you should look for when you're factoring. So we have a couple problems we're going to do here. This number 1, we're looking for the greatest common factor between 6x and 18. And remember, when you're factoring, you're trying to think of two things that multiply together to get 6x minus 18. So the first thing we do is figure out what 6 and 18 have in common. Well, if we do the little factor tree, we'd see that 6 is 2 times 3, and 18 is 2 times 3 times 3. I mean, some people will just recognize that they both have a 6 in common, but if you have to do the factor tree, you'll notice they each have a 2 and a 3 in common, and 2 times 3 is 6. So we take a 6 and we put it on the outside of the parentheses, and what we're saying is, what do we multiply 6 by to get 6x minus 18? Another way you can think about it is that you're going to divide each term in 6x minus 18 by 6. And when I divide 6x by 6, I get x. When I divide 18 by 6, I get 3. So the factored form is 6 times x minus 3. To check it, you want to multiply. Does 6, using distributive property, is 6 times x equal 6x? Yes. Does 6 times negative 3 equal negative 18? Yes. So that means that is our correct answer. So number 2, we notice that there's nothing in common between the 3 and the 5, but they both have x's. So how many x's are in common? Well, in x cubed, there's 3 x's multiplied by each other. In x squared, there's 2. So 2, or x squared, 2 x's, or x squared, is what is in common. It's the greatest common factor. So again, we're going to divide. 3x cubed divided by x squared is 3x. And 5x squared divided by x squared is 5. And the sign stays negative because we took out a positive. And let's check it. Does this times this? Does x squared times 3x equal 3x cubed? Yes. Does x squared times negative 5 equal negative 5x squared? Yes, it does. So always want to check. So down here, I wanted to show you this one because this is a common mistake people make. The greatest common factor, as you might see, between 14 and 7 is 7. Between x squared and x, it's x. So our greatest common factor is 7x. Now I want to know what multiplied by 7x gets me 14x squared minus 7x. So that means I divide this by 7x. 14 divided by 7 is 2. X squared divided by x is x. And this is where people make the mistake. They think they don't need to put anything here, but remember, we're dividing this by this to see what it equals. And 7x divided by 7x, anytime you divide a number by itself, you get a 1. So when we check it, that equals 14x squared. This equals negative 7x. So we are correct. The next problem is a trinomial. It has 3 terms, and when you have a larger term, a polynomial like this, you want to make sure you go step by step. So you just look at the numbers first. Between 3, 6, and 12, what's in common? I always look at the smallest number and see if it goes into both of those. If it does, then that's the greatest common factor between the numbers. So it's 3. How about the x's? We look at each x. Which is the smallest x? Well, x is the smallest x, and between the y's, y is the smallest y. So this is our greatest common factor. And then again, we take each term separately and divide it by 3xy. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, x divided by x is 1, y cubed divided by y is y squared. So we have 1y squared. You don't need the 1, but you can put it there if you'd like. Minus 6 divided by 3 is 2, x squared divided by x is x, y squared divided by y is y. 12 divided by 3 is 4, x cubed divided by x is x squared, and y divided by y is 1, so I don't need it there since I already have the 4. And those are some examples of factoring by grouping. I mean, by greatest common factor. Sorry about that.